Welcome back, my friends, to the Stacey Salyer Show, where I talk about while boomers retire, you acquire. And today I have on my show a really good friend of mine. We've been friends for several years, a guy with two first names, Ian Joseph, out of Washington State. Oh, you have three first names.
Ian Philip Joseph. So yes,
Ian
I heard
what?
that is Philip Joseph.
Ian Philip Joseph. Are you also a second, a third, or is it just?
I was almost Jimmy the fourth.
Okay. Awesome. So you're first. You're the OG. You're the original Ian Philip Joseph from Washington State. And I wanted to bring you on the show because you started a property management company and you have built it through acquiring. And that is what I talk about on my show, is how to give up the growth door by door and instead go out in your market and acquire. So welcome. Why don't you give us a little bit of a introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, gosh, what do people want to know? I started in 2008, got my license. My then mother-in-law was like, hey, if you're going to marry my daughter, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, I have no idea. And she was like, all right, well, get your real estate license. I've been in property management for 20 years. I'll train you. So I did that a little bit as portfolio manager. And then, from there, kind of moved on. And then, in 2017, started a company. So we can kind of dig into that. How I started it was through actually an acquisition. So
I'm
more there, but
okay.
Yeah,
so you started.
I love real estate.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. I love it too, obviously. So you started in 2008 during the crash.
So September 2008. So I think it was probably the day the market crashed, I got licensed.
Sweet. Yeah. And you're like, yay. So now, did you go in with the intention of real estate sales, or did you go in with the intention of property management?
Property management. She had been with Windermere Windermere and John Scott. They're two of our kind of bigger state brokerages. And she had done relocation and sales for 20 years. And then she had been in property management the last 10. And so she was like, come do property management with me. And they were kind of a portfolio style, commission based. Yeah. And so it was a small John Scott office in downtown Seattle. Michelle Rosnick, I think is her office.
Oh, yeah.
So her and Yvonne Bruder and a couple of people kind of mentored me and kind of got me started. So, yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, and then so you fast forward to 2017. Now, were you still in that family, or had that since commenced?
2012, I was thinking I was ready to maybe do more. And so I had approached the broker, Michelle, at that point, just to kind of see, hey, what's the future look like? She was a little older. Back then, when I got started, I was 25. And it seemed like everybody was 50 plus. And so it had skipped a generation, much like a lot of the trades. And so that was kind of the first thing I noticed, is it had skipped a generation. Nobody was really using technology. 2008, this was before any, prop tech was a thing, a thing. Like VAs were in real estate, not even in property management way back then, and carbon paper. And so because I was younger and I was a little tech savvy, I was able to get online and generate some leads and have some early success. And so in 2012, I approached her and she's like, hey, this is kind of the gig. You're a portfolio manager. It is what it is. And I was like, it's probably not the end of my journey. And so I had, thought, hey, I got to figure out what's next. I had been talking to a company in Bellevue, and they were the number one REO brokerage in the state. And so they had gone on a huge run and landed a lot of accounts in REO. And so they had a lot of investor buyers, and they wanted to spin up the investment division and property management. So we talked. They recruited me in 2012 to kind of build out property management for them. And so I switched there and went on a really good run for 5 years. We got connected to Progress Residential and Invitation Homes and did a bunch of acquisitions, and we scaled pretty good. We got to about 400 units, in the first 3 years, mainly institutional. And it was just me and a bookkeeper. And so I learned a lot. Like, we were in at least 3 counties back then. So I learned, just a lot, how to work a lot, how to get divorced because you work a lot,
Yeah, I feel like our journey is kind of similar there. Because I started in 2004, also portfolio, 100% commission, learned really quick. The higher price point units I bring on, the more money I make, right? And then, in 2010, opened a PMC for a home builder. And then 16 went out on my own. So you went out. So then you were like, okay.
Just right behind you. Yeah.
Right. I know. Yeah. So we're kind of like the same. So 2017, you go out on your own. You're like, okay, I'm done.
So in late 2015, early 2016, a lot of the institutional level players, especially Progress Residential, were leaving Washington. We were thinking we were going to be handling their dispositions. And then we kind of got an email and they're like, hey, we sold all our properties to American Homes for rent. And like, just so overnight, our portfolio shrunk down to under 200 units.
Oof.
And so it was going to be kind of a rebuild. And at that point, I had felt I had learned enough to kind of go out on my own. And so I approached Scott and Ed, the owners of Miller Lane Properties, and said, hey, I want to go out on my own. And we worked out a deal. And so I bought that small portfolio. I think it was just under 200 doors. Okay. And so February 2017 is kind of when I started the Joseph Group. And it was with kind of the starter pack from Miller Lane that I had brought over. So I brought my one employee teammate over, Pia. She was my bookkeeper, and found an office in Edmonds and had no idea about commercial real estate, but somehow I found a location and remodeled it, did all the TIs myself in 6 weeks, and wow. And launched. Yeah.
Dang. Okay. Because when you started your own, you were Miller Lane, right? Was that?
Yeah, I had bought the rights to the name. So I had a trade name agreement for 5 years, a licensing agreement. And so I knew I was going to rebrand, but we ran with that. Washington's kind of weird contractually. You have to have signatures on both by all parties, any change. And so it's just easier to kind of delay all of that. So, yeah. And that one was I bought the entity. So that was a stock purchase.
Okay.
But I didn't have to change anything.
Okay. So your very first acquisition. So basically, you did what I try and teach people to do is, hey, you don't necessarily even have to start from the ground up. You could literally just buy an entity. Of course, there's pros and cons to that, but it sounds like it was a big pro in your point. And also you helped grow it. So it's not like you didn't know it.
I knew where all the bodies were buried.
Yes.
So I was okay with it. I also knew I was going to wind that down and move the assets into my new entity over a period of time. But yeah. Because I was there for 4 years at the beginning all the way through it, I knew everything. And so I was very comfortable doing that. Right. I've done, I think, only one other stock purchase. Other than that, they've all been asset purchases, which I do prefer now. So to start out, honestly, I like an equity purchase to start out. You just get the keys to the house and move in, so it's pretty easy.
Well, and it is, to your point, if you have a strategic plan to wind it down and move everything over, that's what I did in 2020 when I did that acquisition up in Skagit County. Was I bought the whole thing, and it was just because he ran so completely opposite. There was just no way that I could have done an asset purchase. But yeah, same thing. I just moved contracts over every month, and I think there's a lot of negative connotation around the stock purchase, which I get, but at the same time, sometimes it just works in your favor. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably talk to your attorney, but I think it's just the risk, right, of what you're inheriting or whatnot. But honestly, no matter what type of purchase I've done, right, if an owner or tenant's suing, they don't care what kind of purchase I did. They don't even care if I'm the landlord. You know how that, so it's,
that is true. They're like, oh, wait, you touched this.
Excuse me, this was an asset purchase. Please go sue the other entity that no longer exists. So I don't know.
It doesn't.
I've not really had, knock on wood, big issues.
Okay, cool. Okay. So for our audience, how many acquisitions have you done so far since 2017 to now?
Well, right when we were about to start this, you had brought that up and I was like, crap, I have to think about this. So I wrote some down. So 2017 was our starter year. And I think like any kind of entrepreneur that first gets their chance, you feel like you're unchained or the handcuffs off. You're like, I'm going to go do all the things, destroy every area of business. And so we did 3 acquisitions in 2017, started the construction company and started the real estate company.
Wow.
All in less than 9 months. And so I had bought a company down in Tacoma, Washington, right after, about 2 months later, so in March, April. And then I had bought Keystone up in Marysville, Cherise.
Oh, yep. I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
So those were the 3, and all 3 were small. So they were all in kind of that 200 level or whatever. So that first year, because of the 3 small acquisitions, that put us around 500 units, which was kind of a healthy company within the first year. And that was enough to feed our real estate division and the construction and maintenance division. And so within that first year, because of kind of the acquisitions and the strategy, I felt like we had a big head start. I've done 2 other, what I would call acquisitions, bigger ones, and they get bigger every time, which is kind of interesting. And I've done a ton. I think I've done 9 to 13, but I don't track the small ones. Like we bought in portfolios off of agents or other real estate companies. So anything under 100 units, I don't even think of that so much as an acquisition.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I bet we've bought portfolios from 20 units up to 500 units, probably 13 times.
Okay. Wow. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you definitely have some horror stories and wins, I'm sure. So for somebody listening who has never done an acquisition, and I think there's, it's kind of like this big thing in our industry where people are like enamored by it, right? It's like a super sexy topic, which it is fun. I mean, once you do one, I think it does become addictive.
Deal makers,
Right.
man.
Right. I know, right? You're like, wow, I'm a baller. I'm cool. But but people are kind of like, wait, what? Like, how do you get the money? Like, how do you know what's good to buy? What I think people like to put out there a lot of, well, what ifs? What if this happens? What if this happens? And at the end of the day, I will tell people, yeah, shit is gonna happen. I don't think an acquisition necessarily goes as planned. Like you can, the whole point is to have strategy and, have as much planned out as you can. But there's always going to be some sort of hiccup. So do you mind sharing maybe like a couple learnings that you've had, like maybe some major hiccups if you feel like sharing that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I hate people that play the what if game.
Yep.
As soon as anyone in my life or team or anyone, what if this? I'm like, what if it's amazing? What if it's the greatest deal of all time? It's like, whatever, man. I just go execute and buy companies. You play what ifs and don't buy companies. That's fine. Whatever's good for you.
There's the Ian that we all know and love.
Yeah. And I love the old, I don't know where it came from. It was Mike Tyson. He was like, hey, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So it's, man, I don't make big plans on these. I don't even do a bunch of due diligence. I'm probably the worst person as far as strategy goes, but I'm really good at, I've done it. And so just like real life, how it played out.
Right.
I've never taken $1 from a bank until this year. And it wasn't, it was to leverage into something else. And so I've bootstrapped every piece of this. And no one in my family has money. So it was not even that. And so when I was at Miller Lane in 2012 to 2017, I treated it like a job. I go to work every day. In real estate, people treat it, as a lifestyle. I pack my lunchbox and I drive to the office and I'm there from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And it was a 100 agent office and there was only one other agent that did that. And so him and I became very good friends. And he was the little Bank of Italy. And so we became friends and he funded some of these on a partner deal. And we started flipping some houses. And so we started a little company called GRG. We were the Get Rich Group, LLC.
Okay.
We each put $15,000 in the bank. And we tried to buy a house for 6 months to flip and we're unsuccessful. But for me, life is all like one of my secret skills is consistency over time. And so we stuck with it. And 9 months after doing this and every day and getting up Friday to go to auctions and stuff, we finally bought our first little dumper flip for $60,000. And so we used our $30K and leveraged hard money and we flipped this house. And then over the course of 4 or 5 years, we ended up flipping about 30 homes. And then that money we were able to take to buy Miller Lane on a seller contract. So every deal I've done, except for one, the 5 big deals I've done, all of them except for one were seller financed. And so that's typically, 20 to 30% down. And then the owner will carry the contract on kind of whatever you work out, typically a 3 to 5 year contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And what was that saying that you said? You have consistency over
time.
Yeah.
I love one-liners. So it's a war of attrition from John Rambo. So
okay.
Yeah, I really believe given enough time, I can do anything. I just need enough time to learn the skill or whatever it takes. So I don't get bored. I'm highly focused on my, end goals and I'll just get to work every day and do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that is really important as well. That is something that I love to teach people as well, because you don't go out and acquire 13 different companies or books of business if you're not like consistently having conversations, right? And doing all that. Do you have a method that you use as far as like contacting people, or are you just like building relationships? Have you ever used a business broker?
There is one business broker I noticed. I don't really have a system, which is terrible, but here's my success. I'm deeply ingrained in NARPM. I will help anyone, and I have no secrets. You can have everything, my entire playbook in business and life. And I'm very involved locally with my friends and, like you. And so and because of the age gap, all of our mentors and people in this industry that have been in it for 20, 30 years, if they're not going to sell to a national player, for a big bag of cash, then I'm the local guy. And I can compete with them too. It's just how we structure it. And so If they don't need all cash up front, then I can definitely compete on pricing, definitely compete on legacy, keep the team. And so I'm attractive to the local companies, but it's just through networks. Everyone I've bought is kind of through networking, or when I'm laying in bed and people are doom scrolling TikTok or whatever they're doing to zone out, I'm on LoopNet or BizBuy and searching for property management companies for sale. And when they pop up, I ping them. There was a business broker that was doing most of the business. And so I kind of did get in touch with him. And then he had brought me one that he was taking live. So I was able to get that one. And then, just referrals. So I've done a couple that I found online listed, and then a lot of referrals.
Yeah, very cool. I love that. Yeah. So just consistency. So instead of, doom scrolling on TikTok and watching dumb reels, you are using your time to doom scroll on business networks.
And I knew when I was young, you have to find your slight edge. Like, how can you compete with other people, right, of success? You're like, I have no money, no experience. I'm very young at 25. And I was like, well, I got a lot of time. I got a lot of life ahead of me where others maybe don't at that stage. And so I just play the long game. I have people that I've been purposely staying in touch with. I mean, they're friends and things, but like purposely staying in touch with on a business, relationship once or twice a year, whether or not that's going to lunch or checking in. And then you have to ask, you have, at a certain point, I'm working on right now. And it's, someone that I've known for a very long time and that I've had on kind of the list, like, hey, this would be something I'd love to do down the road. I like to move with momentum and energy. And so since I just did the acquisition, the last one here last month. And so I've been working on that for about 90 days. And since I was in acquisition mode, I had kind of gone back. And so I just shoot a couple of texts and I just straight up asked, hey, would you ever be interested in talking about a merger or selling? And they're like, hey, it's always worth it. We had lunch the next week and then we were exchanging term sheets, So there's no secrets. It's just work hard and have a plan. I am very good at casting vision and seeing strategy and understanding, I pay attention to other PM owners. Like, do they have children? What's their succession plan? Is it legacy? Are they community driven? One of them, a good friend of ours during COVID, was really struggling and then having some personal stuff going on. And we had talked about maybe someday doing something. And I had just reached out and I was like, hey, if things are tough right now, don't wait till there's nothing left. If the business was shrinking, we had lunch and talked. And I was like, well, what are you waiting 3 years for? And they're like, well, it's just because the number's in mind. I was like, well, tell me the number. They told me the number. And I was like, well, pay that tomorrow. Let's just do it now. The long game. I don't need a paycheck on any of these. Is it an advantage? I have a paycheck from my first company that I bought. So these are all for me wealth building or leverage strategy.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think it's important too that keeping up those relationships and, whether it's like our boomer friends or I'm Gen X, our elder Gen X friends, because I'm still a young Gen X, keeping it in mind. And I love that you mentioned legacy, that you're able to carry on legacy, because that is something that, while you can go out and grow door by door, and I'm not against growing door by door, I think you should have a funnel for that.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool that people in the community can go out and help our friends who don't have, children that want to buy their company or take it over and carry on that legacy. I think that is one of the coolest things about it. And it's not about, oh, hey, I'm going to talk to you and talk you down and give you hardly any money for your company. It's no, I want to honor your legacy and like what you built. I want to honor the relationships you've built with your clients and your residents. And I think it's really cool that you're focused on that.
I turned off all my social media accounts recently because I just was over it. But it's so interesting how people are just always talking about acquisitions and this and valuations and, X revenue or EBITDA or this or that. And I'm like, I don't really care about any of that shit. Just you built a great business. You're a great human. I've probably known you for a lot of years. What's a win for you? And that's it. And then they just tell me, and I'm like, hey, well, this is how I can do that then, or whatever. And I can structure it with terms and conditions or whatever. And I've not paid crazy numbers or anything, but none of these have been like, I've gone in and negotiated hard or done this. My mentors in sales were like, you got to get their wire numbers first. And so I just find out what's important to them. And it's a long game. I mean, some of these I work on for years and years and years.
Right.
And so again, I think people get bored or look for shiny objects, and that's just my trick. That's not me. I'm not looking for anything else. I'm going to just keep my little list of people I'm going to, stay in touch with and have lunch with. And 7 years from now, I'll buy their company when they retire. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think that really hits home. Again, what I say, it's not, of course, the main program I run is like a 12-month program. You may or may not acquire something in the 12-month program, but it is a relationship building, long game, letting people know that this is what you do. It's no secret. And again, it's not with bad intent. It's with great intent. Like Cherie, when she retired, oh my gosh, I saw her face when she retired. When you bought that one at Marysville, she was so happy. She was happy to move on. And our other friend, Christina, over in Kitsap, same thing. Like, they built a great business. They wanted to exit, and you were able to help them. So I think
it's be done. And we make it easy too. One of my good friends, someday he might retire, but like, business is tough, and there are skeletons in the closet too. I think people can come to me knowing I'm going to take care of them, and I don't know, it's not business to me. It is relationship, So it's been good. I do have a couple pitfalls,
Yes, please. Yes, I was just going to ask. Yes, please share the dirty laundry. Let's get to that part of the episode.
Gosh, where do we start? I guess the biggest thing for me right now I'm currently dealing with is, and I knew it was coming, but I don't quite have the solution yet, but just have awareness of when you're buying companies and growing, you're going to grow faster. And so if you don't have, like you said, the organic or paid strategies or other things to kind of get those monthly units coming in, when you buy a company, you will attrit pretty aggressively. And so you need to be mindful of your growth outpacing your attrition. And when you're buying companies, I think a lot of these national companies, they can buy so many so fast that they can outpace that for a long time until they stop buying. And then that, I believe, churn can kill companies. And so it gets harder and harder. We're not huge, but at 2,000 units,
right?
I think Peter's newsletter said good attrition in our industry is like 8 or 10% or something like that. I don't know, a good company.
Right.
If it's 10%, I have to grow by 200 units naturally every year just to not grow, just to
break even. Right.
Yeah. So I'm very aware of that because rent scale and stuff now, there's a lot of great BDMs, but man, back in the day, it was like onesie twosies. If you were getting 1 or 2 a month, you were doing good. And then it was like, 4 or 5, you were doing really good.
Right.
And then the last 3 years, we bring on, 20 plus a month organically, but that's not even good enough anymore.
Right.
So
because at 200, so to be net, let's say 200 doors this year, what is that per month? I don't do math in my head. So
less than 15. Yeah.
Less than 15. Okay. So 15. So which is still
15, 18. We're both
18. Okay. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. We do. I use a calculator, people. That we can't be good at all the things. So that's a fair amount.
That's aggressive. Yeah, right.
Aggressive. Yeah, and that's hitting it hard and having a really good funnel for that. But I have seen your stuff online, and you do Facebook ads or Meta ads. And, I think in our area, you're probably like one of the best, if not the best, for that marketing channel. I don't think a lot of property management companies have dialed that in yet, or even necessarily get it to an extent, so I said, I mean, growing door by door, of course, there is a strategy to that, and I'm not against it, but I do think acquisition was obviously a quicker way to grow. 100%. But to your point, if you're not really doing the math of, okay, if you're going to churn 10% of that acquisition, and I don't know, do you have churn numbers, or have you ever tracked that on what you've churned?
Yeah, we track it. We suck. We are not excellent at churn and we're also buying companies, so churn is worse. We're dialed in right now because that last year we lost 80 homes last year only to selling. 80 units sold last year.
Okay.
We brought on 430 units, but we lost 297. So we did grow, but 80 sold, so that was crazy.
That's a lot. But did you capture some of the sales? Do you track that as well?
Yes, we do. We had 24% recapture, so we sold 4 homes, and so that's my focus this year, is to get that to 50%. This is going down a rabbit hole, but I'm obsessed with the ecosystem and the flywheel of it all, not just the units. So we use that, and then so for every unit lost for sale, we want 50% of those recaptured, and we list it. That also drives revenue for the construction company. I take, in theory, commissions from the sale and then reinvest it into marketing. Once you prove your marketing, it's just a slot machine. You put in X dollars, you get X units. And then, and so that's kind of the rebuild. I knew this was coming. I knew that we were going to get to the point. For 3 years, we were growing at 20 units a month just with our BDM. And I was stoked. That was amazing when you were at like 600 units, 800 units, 1,200 units.
Sure.
And then I saw it. I was like, this is actually not good in the near future, especially if we buy more companies. And so we do have a marketing division now, and I'm trying to think more from a corporate level, how to build kind of the C-suite. And I think that small businesses get very tunnel visioned. Like for us, I think a lot of companies are just in the NARPM vendor floor, and that's that. Nothing against any of the marketing agencies on that floor, but I just don't think the best marketers in the world are at NARPM's convention. So I was like, how do I think differently? We live in a global economy. Where are the best humans in the world for these things? And so that's what I'm trying to build,
Yeah, I will say one thing that if I was to do different, which I will, when I launched this business, because it's online B2B is basically what I'm doing now is online business to business. I had no idea how important like marketing and copywriting was. If I knew now what I knew then, like when I own my PMC, and I will buy another company out in Washington State, but I would have cleaned up. I mean, it's amazing to me how much opportunity there is in the property management world. Because to your point, there's amazing copywriters and marketers are out there that will really teach you that, like truly, or just do it for you, that are really good. And I think really looking at their stats, if you're looking at somebody to run your marketing and their views on their videos and stuff like on Instagram or Facebook are really low. And I mean, we're talking low, like 100 views, or they have zero engagement, or they have zero, like virtually no followers. That's really probably not somebody you want to use. But I don't think in the NARPM world, that's really been introduced yet. I think there's a few players starting to come in that are going to start teaching that and actually offering a few different things. But I think as of now, we haven't really had the best. I just don't think it's been a focus. I think, in fact, this week's episode that I dropped, I talked a little bit about that as how everybody is just so operationally focused in property management, which makes sense. I mean, obviously, if you don't have your shit together, it's going to be a mess. But we really haven't even talked about like growth so much, or the marketing piece behind it. I mean, it's like there's a wide blue ocean, which is why I'm so passionate about, hey, you can grow by acquisition, but there is, to your point, you got to work on the marketing too. So you're not using like a specific property management marketing group, somebody else.
I have in the past, and they were great. And again, so it just depends kind of what size or where you're at, And so it kind of ties back to what machine are you building? So there are good ones that got me to certain levels. And I do believe in outsourcing at certain phases, but my goal is always to get to a point where I can back in-source. And so I reached that level where I wanted to bring it back in. Perfect. And when I was bringing it back in, I just didn't want to make the mistake. With marketing, I need a marketing machine that's going to consistently bring me 30 to 50 units a month in the next 12 to 18 months. So that's just a different problem to solve than probably other companies. I feel like I'm in nowhere's land because, a lot of companies in that, 3 to 800 land, or the big players. And I'm sort of just in this little spot. And marketing, you can go broke in marketing.
Oh yeah, you can really quick.
How much money on vanity metrics and all this other crap, and then get nothing. Luckily, as an entrepreneur, small business owner, some marketing. They can't bullshit you, so some stuff. Last year, throughout the year, I built a team of 3 freelancers, and one was performance paid ads, one was RevOps, and one was kind of SEO content strategy, like more generalist. And then we're on HubSpot for our CRM. I knew 2 years ago, I went to the HubSpot conference by myself because it's just literally a marketing conference it is B2B, but I was like, I just want to immerse myself. And there was like 3,000 marketers there and stuff.
Yep.
So last year, that's when I made my hires. And then I took one of them to HubSpot with me last year. And then I made her an offer to come on full-time as my head of marketing, and then freelancers beneath her. And she's been great. It's not through the lens of PM. It's through the lens of marketing and growth,
Right.
And so I don't know, it's just different, I guess.
Right. I think that is maybe, and I don't know if I want to use the word mistake, but that I see like in property management world is thinking that the person who's doing their marketing has to have a background in property management. And really, in my opinion, I don't think that that's actually necessary. I think in order to call in the client that you want, because have you guys determined like what your client avatar looks like?
Yeah. We have 2. It is hard to generate property management leads though, for us.
Okay.
For our slogans, it's not just a rental, it's a home. I hate any one that says it's just a rental.
I hate that too. I hate it when you talk to somebody and they're like, it's just a rental.
Yeah, it's just a rental. That's fine. It's just a rental. No, it's not a rental. It's a home. Somebody's home. Someone lives here. Right. And so we're also the most expensive company locally, our fee structure, our top package. And so We want people that have an emotional attachment to the home, that believe in preventative care over long periods of time. Trap number 2, back to like, hey, the skeletons in the closet. One of the biggest traps that I've found in buying other companies and even experiencing it myself is that, and you've experienced this if you've taken it over, most property management companies, in my mind, over a 10-year period, that home is just going like down to deferred maintenance crap.
Yep.
And so I think people are afraid to ask clients to spend money to take care of their home or do preventative care, let alone repair something broken. I mean, heaven forbid, ask them to spend money like proactively. And
Right.
so we want to grow fast with investors, but investors that are okay spending money on their assets and care that there's a human living in their home. That is probably not the best avatar for this business. But those are the humans I want to work with, right?
Right. Yeah, I know. That is hard. And we can talk a minute because I have a question about that regarding acquisitions, but it is hard to find that avatar. I know, like when I owned my PMC, I actually worked with a lot of home builders, and thankfully the home builders were on that trajectory. Like they did believe in that because they understood, okay, it costs X amount to build, it costs X amount to, you know, sell it, whatever. But it is really hard, especially the onesie twosies. Sometimes they just are like, well, what do you mean? You know, that light switch, I've always had to flip it up and down 5 times for it to work. You know, just put a note there. So, no, that's not really how we want someone to be living in a home. And there's obviously a lot of like psychological things, right? Like I always do, but the better you take care of it, the more they're going to take care of it, that kind of thing. But
that's
and
a hard one. People, asking people to spend money. I mean, I don't know. I remember when I first started, I was nervous calling a client to spend $400 on like carpet cleaning and maid service, like at a turn or whatever.
Right.
I mean, this week alone, I've spent $200,000 remodel bids to clients, like, you know, prepping for sale. And I'm like it's nothing. Like, hey, just sign this. This is what happened.
Right.
And our average turn actually is like $9,000 on rental.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. And that's after what, somebody living there 3 years, 5 years?
That could be when the owner moves out.
Oh, when the owner moves. Okay.
I don't track that. Like we push for full reset when the homes come to us. Like we push heavily for like fresh flooring, fresh paint.
Okay.
We don't touch up. We paint full walls instead of touch up. Like we don't mess around with stuff. Like they're all traps. This is what people don't understand, like that haven't been in the business long. It's all a trap. If you don't set the property up today correctly, the client gets amnesia and it was a bit of a dud now. And then 3 years later, when the tenant moves out, they're like, what happened here? I'm like, you didn't do anything 3 years ago when I told you to refresh it. And so now it's just a little worse than it was back then, which was not great anyways.
Yes. They never remember. They think that they left it, the Taj Mahal, most beautiful. And you're like, no.
That cabinet worked fine when I lived there, you know? So
right? I know. What do you mean? That builder grade carpet's 15 years old. It should last another 5.
We need clients that are like good over time. You know, like they're going to invest in their home. I like testing different things. So for like we have a field team for all of our move-ins and move-outs and stuff like that. And so last year we were kind of changing that department. And I was like, what's my dream hire for like person to do move-ins and move-outs? And I was like, maybe, you know, I came up with professional inspectors. I was like, hey, a licensed home inspector would be like a really good, you know, person to do a move-out report. And I was like, how would that ever work, man? Those guys. But I recruited one and I highly paid individual. And then with that, I was like, hey, I don't want just move in and move outs. That's your day job. But we developed what we called healthy home audits. And so we were selling to our clients, like going to homes and doing these big reports on preventative care and then offering how to budget and prepare over the next 3 to 5 years, whether or not you need roofing or, you know, water heaters, things like that. So, I mean, these are investment properties. You have to invest in them. And I think that a lot of property managers are, I don't know. We inherit a lot of crap. Homes.
Yeah, I was going to say, right. So I was going to ask you, I mean, because I know, you know, doing acquisitions myself, what it's like. So what do you do when you buy a book of business and let's say it's 200 doors and 100 of them are like super crap? I mean, what do you?
Like I said, I'm the worst. I don't do due diligence. I don't drive the homes when I buy them. I barely look at the leases. I look at a lease template, you know, I just assume it's a shit show.
Okay.
And I'm going to fix it. My gamble is within a year, you kind of go through a full cycle on properties if you're set up right. And so my gamble is I got 1 year to sort of like clean it up and figure it out, you know, and go.
Okay.
And then here's a perfect example. And actually we kind of sucked on this one too. I bought a company in Tacoma in 2017. The Tenant had already been there for a long time. Tenant just moved out in January after 10 years of living there.
Mm-hmm.
There was no move-in file. The deposit was $500, no move-in report. The guy had been smoking in his house for 10 years. There was soot everywhere, unreported maintenance. We've been managing it since then too. So I'm like, man, we sucked. Did we not go check on this freaking house?
Right.
Other issue with scale is like, you think you're a good company and then you're like, oh, fuck, we grew.
Right.
And a lot of things are falling through the cracks.
Yep. That happens. That's real. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. And so I was like, well, we kind of fucked this one up too. And then by not maybe catching it earlier, doing something about it. Because I did see, we did a couple walkthroughs and it noted it was like soot everywhere. I'm like, okay, well, what did we take? We didn't take action. So because I have the vertical integrations, this is the gamble I make. That house is fucked. I'm not going to argue with the client or try and push blame on the old company, or I just take full ownership. I'm like, you know what? I bought that company. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to handle it. And I use that to then try and get them to hire us to sell the home and remodel it. And then I can use that revenue to solve some problems. It's been 10 years, so we can't do paint or flooring and stuff anyways. So the damages were like $2,000. The deposit was $750. What are we even arguing about? I would pay $750 or $2,000 to get like a sale referral anyways.
Right.
So
right.
I just look at it like that. So there's a lot of those. I just know that my business model will allow me to cut checks or fix issues when they come down the road.
Right.
And we'll clean up as the annual cycle's going through renewals and inspections and things like that.
Right. Well, and what I'm hearing is that you know that you're going to encounter challenges and you just know that you're going to deal with them. I mean, I think that's but it kind of goes back to the original, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, yeah, shit is going to happen and nothing is ever perfect. I know when I did my acquisition, there was a ton of deferred maintenance. It was a boomer who owned it. He had set it up like a job. And I think those are amazing companies to buy, but they also do require a lot of work. Yeah. So like nothing is easy, work free either way. And and then I ran into problems like that too. And I was like, well, okay, well, I'll make it right. I'll fix it. We'll do what we need to, because in the end, everything that I gained way outweighed that one little situation. Like it's, that's what I always look at. And it sounds like you do too. It's okay. Well, I'm gaining like all this and there's a couple like hiccups here, but it's worth it.
The bigger you get or the longer you're in business, all of the what ifs will probably come true. A buddy of mine, Kevin Glenn in Tri-Cities, I met him a couple of years ago. He's a property management company. He was a teacher, then he worked for his company, then he bought it. Now he's growing it. He bought it like 80 units. He was at one of the Friday legislative updates with Jim Henderson. And afterwards, he pinged me out of nowhere and he said, hey, man, I just had a question for you because we were talking about lawsuits or whatever. And he started playing all these what ifs. And I was like, time out, buddy. If you can't stomach getting sued, then get the fuck out of this business. Mm-hmm. If you can't stomach your what ifs, then go get a fucking job somewhere.
Right.
Don't own a business.
Right.
Don't even buy other people's businesses. Like you're.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Motivational talk by Ian Joseph. And
if you're fear driven, go do something else.
And I think that is one thing is, you can't really have fear. I mean, it's, it
will happen. It's going to happen. Yeah. But the pros outweigh the cons, like you said.
Especially in property management. And honestly, I have been to court so many times. I can't even honestly tell you all the times I've been to court. And it is what it is, man. I have not lost any sleep. I just don't even.
You got that muscle now.
Yeah, right. So, no, that's awesome. Well, before we wrap up, do you have any words of wisdom for somebody who is like, I really want to acquire, what should they do? Besides, of course, joining my program.
Words of wisdom. Yeah. Again, I don't have any silver bullets. The only way I know how to do it is to get out there and do it. So it's just like anything else. When I wanted to flip houses, I had to get to work. I had to get up earlier than everybody else and get out there and drive foreclosures or go to the auctions and make offers. So you just got to get out there and do it. Start calling some PM owners, taking them to lunch, and come from a place of either you're learning or you want to be helpful, and then just get to know them and talk to them. I'm sure that you probably have some systems that you can help them deploy. I'm just not that good. I don't. I just know people and kind of get to know them and hang out with them. And now I've done it. I mean, gosh, I've now done it. I mean, we're almost at 10 years with the Joseph Group, and I've been in real estate now since 2008, nearly 20 years, which is crazy to me. I don't feel that old, but it's consistency over time. Everyone thinks it's the overnight success. I don't know. I've been doing it the same thing for 20 years. That's why it feels like overnight success, you know? I mean, and so we bought 13 companies in 9 years. I guess that feels like a lot, but if you can't work hard or do things to have a win annually, then yeah, maybe it's not for you.
Maybe if they're in Washington State, they should reach out to you
Yeah.
and move on. And
hire you to get coached or retire and call me. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love that. And I couldn't agree more. I think that, you just got to put the reps in. And I think it is easy for people to probably look at people and be like, oh my gosh, they've done so much. Well, yeah, I'm in year 22. If I haven't accomplished something, then there's definitely a problem with the life equation.
Go network. I bought a bunch from agents.
Yeah.
I bought every time there was a cycle change, I don't know if we're going to go into a downturn, but back in 2008 to 2012, when agents were, not making any money, they started leasing homes or things. And then when in 2011, 12, and now we've been on a big up cycle. Well, now they're making money, and those were all pain points for them. I would look for agents that were listing homes for rent that weren't companies. And I was like, what are you even doing? And then I would network with them, or I would go to agent events, and eventually, they're like, yeah, you know what would that look like? And they're managing 13 homes or 20 homes, or whatever. I think people like to talk about the big wins and everything like that. It's like, man, no, you just build little by little. My earliest mentor in real estate was like, it's baseball. Everyone talks about the home runs as big swinger, man. All you want is singles and doubles. If you hit into singles and doubles, the home runs come. And in baseball, you fail more than you win. And so just go get the reps.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate it. And this has been super fun. I love chatting with you.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to chat with people with the same mindset and who just go out and make shit happen and get it done. Put in the reps. It's baseball. I love baseball. It's probably one of the reasons I love that game so much.
Yeah.
I know. And we're not even into our 9th inning yet. I think that's the most, right?
Are we in the 7th inning stretch, do you think? Or are we still, where are we in life, Stacey?
No, I think I'm actually still in my 1st or 2nd inning now. I started over. I started a new game. And every time you add something new to your business, I think we're in multiple games at the same time, right? Yeah. There we go. That's my words of advice. So thank you again. And we will put in the show notes where people can find you. But is there anything that you are offering, or that you want to offer any contact information, or how people can find you if they're looking to sell their company? Or
I prefer to be a ghost, but you can find me. I'm happy to help anyone that needs anything. I have 0 offerings. I do no coaching, consulting, paid advertising, gimmicks, things, whatever. Just get to work. I have a job. I'm not lucky enough like you to sell and retire and chase your dreams. I got to go to work every day.
Yes. Well, trust me, it's still work. Hey, I sell myself on Instagram every day. Be there, Stacey.Salyer.
I love it.
Well, cool. Well, thank you again for coming on.